there about how easy it is to drive a V8 supercar. To do that, got to go back to school. Bit of a tutorial on the fundamentals of motor racing.
Chance to be a school teacher, hey Rusty. Yeah, well, it's an interesting business, isn't it? Because we're all caught up in it week to week, and the battle out there, and we expect that for all the drivers they can just make perfect decisions and pass cleanly, and there'll never be any controversy. And of course, it's just not like that in reality. It's so difficult to master and drive to perfection a 1,350 kilogram car that's capable of 300 k's or more, with more than 600 horsepower. In relative terms, not a lot of rubber. Very easy to bowl wide.
Now remember, Crombo, crash it, you own it.
Now this is cool. This is the cars before the storm. 40 k's an hour as we head out of pit lane, and we're about to unleash the ultimate performance car, which is not designed for the road, really, is it? No, not this, Rusty. That is phenomenal. Over 600 horsepower, and that's not 100% throttle, particularly on colder tyres. These things can be absolute dynamite to drive. Let's try and break it down, if we can, into a number of key elements. Well, the first decision you've got to make in the race car when you get in it is where you want to be on the road and why. So you need to understand the dynamics of play. So the real trick here, when you're trying to get around a track that isn't dead straight, like Malala, where there are 9 turns, and it's anything but straightforward, is you've got to hustle the car around in the shortest clock speed. So coming down here to turn 5, where do we want to be? We want to be in the middle of the road, the right, the left of the road.
Now, Crompo, I was never much good at school, so I need to lock this away. Approach, entry, apex, exit. Yep. How are we going so far?
Excellent.
Where are we?
10 out of 10. You just got yourself an 8. We're in the approach phase. The last thing you want to do is be on the right-hand side of the road, because when you get up to the hairpin, you've got to tippy-toe around, you've got no mid-corner speed. So you want to be on the left-hand side of the road in order to be able to open the radius and keep the rolling speed up.
You'll often talk about being right on the threshold of the braking. Where do you brake and why? What determines that? There must be so many factors that influence it. Well, obviously you're grip limited. So it's not just a case of choosing to outbrake another bloke. You can only drive to the grip available in the tyre, and the way the tyre is presented to the road, and how much grip is available in the temperature and wind and all the other kinds of conditions of the day. So you brake based on feel. You need to get a feel of the racetrack every single day. Sometimes every single lap, because it changes obviously from lap to lap as the car performance changes and the tread depth changes on the tyre and so on.
So you've got to feel your way into the deepest possible moment to brake and get all the speed off the car to be able to make the corner without firing into the potato patch down there. So that's the last bit of the approach phase. This entry phase, and if you were my student, which you are today, then I would want you to brake in a nice straight line with a good solid pedal pressure, keeping the car nice and straight. And at about this point or thereabouts, I'd want you to clear the brake pedal, because I want you to start to turn the car in the entry phase, looking at the apex because the car goes where you look typically, and I would want you to have 0% throttle.
Now the other consideration here as we gear down to the corner is downshifting. How much of an art form is that, and how do you do it? Well, there you go. 600 horsepower misbehaving. The trick with these cars is to make one positive gear shift and downshift movement. So we'll just do one here. We're in 5th, and there's 2nd. Now some guys will go down through each individual gear, and some guys prefer to just do all their braking at the threshold brake pressure and then go to the one that they want. The point is that with these gearboxes, they're pretty bulletproof, but you can still knock them around. You've actually got to be quite fluid in what you want. So there's a shift, positive shift from 4th to 3rd. There was no crunching back through the lever itself. And a little blip just helps you synchronise engine speed for where you'll go to in your next gear position.
I can't get over the way the road changes between the entry and the apex. And that word's it's a funny term, isn't it?
It is. It's an odd thing. It's one of those jargon terms in motorsport that we never bother to decode. Look, it's an imaginary point. It's not really a fixed geometric location on a racetrack or at any particular corner. I've just marked it with the hat. It's a cutting point or a kissing point, if you like. It's theoretically the location in the corner where the car ceases to enter the corner and begins to exit the corner. And it's nothing more than a mental location in your brain up here between two ears, because depending on what you want your car to do and how you're approaching driving each individual corner on each racetrack, you can shift this in your mind. You might want to run right around the inside of this corner, or you might have a very late apex.
I want you to define trail braking for me. That's a good question. Now, if we were doing an advanced driver training course, or some sort of race driver training course, initially we'd only want you to brake in a straight line here, clear the brake pedal, turn the car, and then pick the throttle up on the other side. But as you start to get more understanding of what you're doing and more understanding of the car and the conditions and what the whole race driving task's about, you can hold onto the brake pedal for a little bit longer. So, for example, here we are, turn 3, holding the brake, gear shift, holding the brake, holding the brake, holding the brake, holding the brake as we turn in to the apex, clearing the brake pedal, opening the steering. That's trail braking. Now, the trick with trail braking is you can't afford to stay on the brake pedal with too much pressure for too long, or you'll lock the inside front tyre.
You need to be fully grip limited on the tyre, so it's the chassis that's doing all the work. Theoretically, you've braked as absolutely late as you can, and you've tidied up all the gear changes, and you've done it all neat, and you've matched all the gear speeds and the engine speed and so forth. Zero throttle, reducing brake pedal pressure, and one nice trajectory, hard word, turn in once if possible, and just here the car goes zooming past the apex after that one fluent movement, and then here, and only here, pick the throttle up in gentle progression from 0% inch growing out towards the exit all the way obviously to 100%, and taking the lock off the steering, keeping the mid-corner speed going.
Righto, Rusty, the moment of truth, mate. You've been focused and watching, I hope, because I'm going to ask questions. It's your turn to drive. Be patient with your throttle. That's it. Yeah, right. And there's the trap straight away. Cold tyres, not a lot of grip today, and you bring the lock on and all of a sudden it doesn't want to go where you want it to go. This really should be first, but for the sake of this exercise, I'll keep it in second. Yep. Chase it all the way to the red limiter, mate. Use your 7.5. There you go. There's the red limiter there. Okay. That's good, mate. The thing that I cannot get over is how hard it is to piece it all together nice and neatly. It is not an easy thing to do at all. And imagine the pressure. I can only imagine the pressure when you've got 30 other blokes that are as good as you or escaping trying to, well, yeah, crush you at the same time. I'm not in the game now. The current level of guys at the top end of this thing are phenomenal. They're driving 10 tenths every lap, stake free, and they're millimetres apart. They do it for hours on end. How's your heart rate? I was more worried about damaging it. That's what the heart rate was from. I told you not to worry about escapees.